Uh, Marhaba. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Introduction to English Literature. Uh, Today is lecture number 13, uh, and we will talk about the Renaissance prose. Uh, Before we go to our topic today, I want to apologize again for not uploading a lecture last Wednesday. Uh, this been a rough week for me. I'm still not feeling very well, but I don't want to delay you more. So I'm recording this late, and I record another one this week, hopefully tomorrow or Thursday. And then next week, there will be 3 recorded lectures, not 2, because we missed one last week, okay? فهعوضكم محاضرة الأسبوع الجاي حيصيروا 3. This is one. Number 2, uh, all of you heard about the new regulations, uh, the announcement of IUG that we will no longer have a face-to-face lecture for now because of the situation, the COVID-19 situation. Of course, our safety and your safety is the priority. So it is sad, it is unfortunate that we have to stop our face-to-face lecture. I loved the lectures and the discussions and interacting with you face-to-face, seeing you. But we got to deal with it in a way or another. So instead, we will have some Zoom calls, live calls, live lectures every week or 2 weeks. This week we won't have. Next week maybe. I'm thinking next week, but not sure yet. Maybe um, I'll give you a lecture, a live lecture. Remember lecture number 1? When I discuss the lecture with you, not a discussion. I'll just give you a lecture, but with you live, so you can ask questions live and things. Maybe you think about this. And also because I was really sick this week, I didn't complete your assignments. Some of you already got uh, graded, but others not yet. Um, so I'll complete hopefully this week, and I'll after I finish, I'll give you a live session about writing. I know you're taking academic writing one, which is good, um, but I'll give you more about literary writing, how to write for literature. Okay. But later. Now let's go back to our topic today, the Renaissance prose. Now, so far, we started this course with the Old English literature. Remember Beowulf and Caedmon and all the guys. And then we moved to Chaucer, the father of English literature. We moved to more Middle English literature figures and texts. Um, And then we started with a new era, the Renaissance. We said that this was the golden age of drama. It was rich of creativity, art, and literary production, both in England and the rest of Europe, Germany, France, Italy, especially Italy. Um, okay, and we said so many things about the era. So many important events politically. We talked about politics, the church, the king, the wars, and the inventing of the printing machine, the printing press. So many things about the era. But we focused more on literature, the drama. We said it was the golden age of drama. Shakespeare and Marlowe and Johnson and Kid and all the guys, and also poetry. Um, so we talked about the verse because remember, even the drama was mainly written in verse, not prose. Remember the difference between prose and verse? The drama was mainly written in verse. Sometimes you have prose here and there, especially in Shakespeare. Some characters, remember Shylock? Sorry, remember Shylock? He talked in prose, not verse. Um, and here or there we found some prose, but mainly, basically, most of the time, it was prose. So even the drama was written in verse. Sorry, was written in verse. Now today we will discuss the prose in the Renaissance era, and today is the last lecture about the Renaissance. We can spend hours and hours more. We can talk about Renaissance for 2 more or 3 more courses, not only lectures. But we just in this course are interested in a background, a general background, an introduction to the era. You will have a better idea about the age in the Elizabethan literature course and maybe in Shakespeare. So um, now the prose of the English literature was everything written not in verse, either fictional or non-fictional. But when we talk about the Renaissance, we don't mean by prose short stories and novels. You know, novels and short stories, they are prose, but not in the Renaissance, because back then in the Renaissance, we didn't have novels yet. ما كانش لسه في شيء اسمه novel back in the Renaissance era. Okay, because even the word novel, novel means novel, new. This is a novel idea, a new idea. So novel means new. It's a new art of writing of fiction. Okay, so it was not yet known at that age. So when we say prose, we don't mean novels. And short stories are even um, more recent and modern than novels. Okay, before we start, as always, let's thank everyone. What do you prefer, prose or verse, and why? You prefer reading poetry or novels or short stories? Drama maybe, and why? What's the reason you prefer this, not that? Okay, uh, so today we'll talk about the importance of prose on the English literature, the influence, and then we'll talk about the types. We'll have 7 types of Renaissance prose, and then we'll start the discussion on the Facebook group. Now, again, the prose was not as popular as drama, but it was important because it was the first stage. The prose, the Renaissance prose, was the first stage of the more important, the more popular prose that started to be written and read later. Always, when something is great, it started at some point as less greater than it became. So why the Renaissance prose was great, was important, because it was the earliest examples of um, of the important forms of writings that became very popular later. Okay, like the novel. If they did not start with the books about the travel stories, adventures in the Renaissance era, we wouldn't have written and read novels later, because someone had to start with something. This is an important. Uh, this is a point of one factor, one aspect of the importance of prose. But more importantly, is that prose helped to form the modern English language. And especially when you talk about this prose, we talk about 2 things: Shakespeare, because Shakespeare wrote some prose here and there, Shakespeare, and the translated Bible. They helped shaping the modern English language. The grammar, because when you talk when you in verse maybe you can play with the grammar here or there, but when it's prose you have to have in a way a certain rule to abide, because you don't have the poetic license all the time. Grammar and also spelling, because when you write in a book you have to choose an arrangement of the letters in the word. Now remember when we read a word more, for example, in Chaucer, or the rest of the words, we know the word, but it is spelled differently because writing was not so popular, and everyone, when they wrote a word, they wrote it the way they liked it. There was not um, some strict rule in spelling, and this is why the spelling in English language is retarded. It does not make sense because there is no sense. Um, but when more people started to write prose, خلاص, some words started to have their shape, and this is and so spelling, grammar, etc. So we had modern English language. Um, okay, so this is um, the importance of Renaissance prose and why it became more popular. Always we go back to the printing press, the invention of the printing press. It The world, the literature before the invention of the printing press was something, and it became something completely different after, because more people were able to read, more people were able to write and publish, and this was a reason why a wider audience started to reach prose and uh, read it. Okay, let's move to the types of Renaissance prose. Again, we have 7 types today of Renaissance prose. Um, we'll talk about them one by one in just quick points. First, and more importantly, we have the authorized version of the Bible. So now, remember England, there were the church, the Pope. Um, Religion was important in England, remember, and everything is in a way related to religion. Even when the king wanted to become more powerful in his country, he became the head of the church, the English church, King Henry VIII. And then his daughter Mary, Bloody Mary, changed the religion of the country again back to Catholicism. And then um, her sister Queen Elizabeth, as we said, went back to sorry to Protestants. Okay, so to change the religion again. Really sorry. Uh, okay, but all of this happened while the Bible was not in English. People couldn't read the Bible. All this time, all these fights, and people still couldn't read the Bible because it was not yet in English. Maybe there was some Bibles here there in English, but not official Bibles. Now this is the authorized version. Why is it authorized? Because it's the Bible of King James the First. Remember King James the First, who succeeded the Queen Elizabeth, succeeded, came after her. Okay, so King James the First asked a group of translators to prepare a new English version for the Bible, and this was the most important non-fiction book at that, maybe the most important book at that time, in 1611, the English version of the Bible. And see, he asked the translators to prepare it. So we, the translators, are important. Okay, the book that we translated, our colleagues back then at the Renaissance age, was the most important book of that time. They translated the Bible into English, so we have an English Bible now. And now, ironically, it is the most popular Bible in the world. Okay, so this is the authorized version of the Bible, and then we have the pamphlets. We have the pamphlets. What are the pamphlets? In Arabic, what is a pamphlet? So this is, in a way, a pamphlet, you know, كراسة or something ملزمة. But what is this كراسة? What is a pamphlet? It is some a number of prose articles or pieces, you know, articles or blogs, in a way. In that time, we can call them blogs with our today's language, that talked about comic themes, discussed comic themes, mainly concerned with the subculture. What is the subculture? You know, there is the culture, the culture, you know, and then we have the subculture, you know, the side, the margins, the thieves, the cheats, you know, the funny stories that people, you know, the gossip things, the things that people um, uh, talk about in their gossips, you know. So, and usually in a funny way. The stories of the thieves, Juha, how people cheat each other, and um, the rest of the stuff. Okay, and always the tone again is comic. And when we read these pamphlets, we realize how much crime there was in London at that time in the Renaissance era. Okay, so far we have the Bible and we have the pamphlets. The pamphlets are pieces. The pamphlets are pieces of prose about subculture and in a comic tone. In a comic tone. Uh, then the third type is the travel writings, and maybe this is the most important type of prose at that era, the travel writings. Now, what is a travel writing? Um, the travel text. It is important till this day, travel texts. And now we don't only have books about travel, we have Facebook pages, Facebook groups, we have Instagram pages, and YouTube channels about people who travel and talk about traveling, about cities all around the world. They visit, they document everything they experience during the traveling, because people love these stories about the new places. It stretches our minds. One of the ugliest crimes of the Israeli occupation is that um, they don't allow us, the Gazans, to travel freely. And when we manage to travel, it is a journey of torture in from the Rafah crossings or from Ares or whatever. So we don't feel this, but people who travel stretch their minds because they see new places and new things and new people and new languages and new concepts, new customs. Everything is new and makes you think, and your mind is like, you know, um, gets larger, bigger in a way. Um, and so people, if they did not manage to travel, at least they would love to hear about the new places, at least. And this is why so many of us are interested always um, those blogs and the channels about traveling and travelers and other adventures here and there. Because yes, we cannot maybe travel easily, but at least we can see the rest of the world, the outside world. So back then at the Renaissance era, the idea of traveling, going abroad, was becoming more popular. Why? Because remember the new words, the new the Americas, the Australia, the all the new continents and the new places. Not they are not new, but in the Western mentality, they are new. In the European mentality, they were new places, and they were encouraging each other to go travel there. Okay, so anyone who would travel and go to see those in a way new places, they would come back and tell the stories and talk about them. uh, and when people talked about other places, Usually they talked about them in a high way. They always describe them as the perfect places. And when you talk about a place in a way that is perfect, that makes this place perfect, everything there is good, is perfect, is the best place. We call this utopia. You know what is what is a utopia? And the adjective from utopia is utopian. Um, Utopia is a city, is a perfect city. Everything there is perfect. Um, but this city, of course, does not exist. The utopia does not exist. But people love to talk about utopias. And today, novels and movies are full of utopias. Do you know what's the opposite of utopia? If the city or the place or the country is perfect, it is a utopia. If it is completely horrible, what can we call it? Search this and tell me, because also there are new um, uh, works, literary works, and movies about the opposite of the utopia. But let's back to utopia. Why would people write about new places that are perfect? You should go there. There are this city of gold. There's a lot of gold in this country. You should go there. You should travel. You should have the adventure. They were encouraging the rest of the people to go there. And they talk about those new places in a way, in a high way. There are two reasons always to to discuss utopia. One, to criticize your place, your country. Two, to to aim to seek a better society. How is this? Now imagine if we wrote a novel or a book about a utopian Gaza. So I wrote about a Gaza that has electricity all the time, no COVID-19, no occupation. You can travel whenever you want and come back whenever you want. Also, no drones, no F-16s, no occupation at all. The political situation is perfect. There is no division in between the political parties. We have freedoms. We have opportunities here in our homeland. The society is more acceptable of new ideas and the new trends here and there. And we know that the society, the country, the whole situation is the opposite. You know, it's not perfect. We have the occupation, we have the political corruption, we have there are no freedoms and restriction. The travel is restricted. You don't have a freedom of traveling. So many bad things, horrible things, opposites. So if I wrote this about this utopian Gaza, it's maybe because I'm dreaming of this good Gaza, of this better society, and I want my society, my people, my political leaders um, to change this society to the better, to change our country to the better, maybe. And maybe I'm just criticizing the society because imagine I'm saying that I can travel whenever I want and come back whenever I want when I cannot. Maybe I'm criticizing the situation, criticizing the governments, the occupation, and everything. Okay, so it's one of these two reasons: to seek a better society or to criticize uh, the society. Okay, so to improve it or to criticize it, and in a way they complete each other. The two reasons complete each other in a way. Okay, so this is travel writings. But also, again and again and again and again, we never have to, we should never forget colonialism. How many times did we bring colonialism so far? So many times, yeah, right? And again, I love the book. I love our book. Where is the book? Where is the book? Give me the book. Okay. نرفع الدواء اللي بشربه من على الكتاب. نرفع هذا. اوكي وقعنا المصاري. Where is the book? Here is the book. I love this book. And again, I told you, I come back to this book all the time, um, to read about, to remember things that I've read and to read my notes here and there. It is a very good book, and I love it. But we should never again forget the fact that it is whitewashing the crimes of imperialism, the crimes of colonialism. When we say new worlds, they were not new worlds, right? America was not new. When the whole um, planet, or maybe when everything was created or started, since the Big Bang, since God created the earth and created the whole universe, America was there and Europe was there. So America was not new. It was there, already there, but they did not know it. And it was there. Where did we go previous? It was there, and its people were there, right? It had native people, the whom they called the Red Indians or something, right? But this book talks about the colonial glory. Instead of addressing the colonialism, the imperialism, how they occupied their lands and killed them and displaced them and um, control their lands, they talk about the colonial glory, the discovering the new worlds, okay? Exploring the new worlds of the Americas and the East. But what these travel writings did actually was more than this. Remember Shakespeare's The Tempest, the play? It's in a way about traveling because there's a king who is no longer a king. His brother kicked him out. So he's not a king now. And he's sent to some island here or there. And in this island that had, in a way, a native people, he's not a king. But there, because he's a white Christian European, he's the king all of a sudden. Okay? So this fed the minds, the consciousness, or maybe the subconsciousness of the Europeans, that wherever they go, they can be the masters. They're the kings, even if they are not, even if they are native people. But wherever they go, and it's not only Shakespeare, it's not only The Tempest, every other, or maybe almost every other traveling text, um, was, or in a way, improved this idea. And this happened again with us, with Palestine. Uh, Before they occupied Palestine um, in 1920 and in 1948, they occupied it in literature, in text. They kept talking about Palestine, the place of um, the honey and the milk. Not only honey and milk, where there are rivers of honey and milk. It's heaven. It's heaven on earth. This was Palestine in their literature back then, before even they came here with their drones and F-16s and guns. They occupy, and this is why I always believe in literature. And I told you this, because they started from literature, and we should start from literature when we want to free our lands. So they always have this mentality that the Europeans, they can rule the world. They are the masters. They are the superiors in this world, in this universe. Now, examples of travel writings, we have utopia. It's called utopia. Okay, remember what is a utopia? A utopia as a word, it means um, a perfect society. But here, utopia is the name, the title of a book by Thomas More. And it is about an imaginary country because it is a utopia. And he was criticizing society. Other critics would say that he was calling to improve the society, to better the society. Okay, we can, um, everyone can read it in the way they want, but this is Thomas More. And this again, utopia is an example of feeding, to, going to somewhere where it is, you know, a new world and becoming its master. Even his name, Thomas More, not Thomas Less, Thomas More. He wants more, more lands, more countries here and there. And we have another book by Sir Walter Raleigh, The Discovery of Guyana, and this is also a major travel book. And this is not fiction. This is not fictional. This is basically non-fiction book. You know, a fiction book is a book about a fictional story. You know, not real story. But a non-fiction book is a book about real events. You know, like every book. Okay, every normal book, not literature. Maybe literature, but not a story, not fictional. Okay, so this is a non-fiction book. But in this non-fiction book, we have one of the cities. He talks about so many cities he traveled to. One of them is El Dorado. What is El Dorado? El Dorado is the land of gold. The land of gold. A land where there is just gold. Everywhere there is gold. And this is imaginary. There is no land with just gold and the treasures here and there, right? But it was written in a real book of history, in a non-fiction book. So during the history, all the times, always fiction and non-fiction were merged together. Always fiction always had some non-fiction in it. Because when you write a story about Palestine, you should mention the Israeli occupation, right? You should mention Hamas and Fatah, and in a way, maybe directly or indirectly, but you should mention the situation, الكهرباء قطعت. But it is still fiction, even though you have some non-fiction here and there. And when you write non-fiction, there are always some fiction also here and there. So this is a fictional city that does not exist, El Dorado, but it was in a real book of history at that time. You know, because they were encouraging people to go, travel, see the new worlds. There were lands of gold, pure gold, like Palestine, the land of the rivers of milk and honey. You know, can you imagine? Is there a land where there are rivers of milk and honey other than heaven? No, this is not possible. But uh, this was the major. These are the major travel texts of the Renaissance era. So many other texts, but these are the major ones. Read the book. There are so many other examples in the book and more discussion. But this is what I talk about is um, the important points, okay, that we are asked to study. The fourth type, remember, we now so far we studied three types: the Bible, the pamphlets, and the travel writings. The fourth type is the Romance writings. And why is this type important? Because it was the origin of the English novel. Because this developed, kept developing until we reached the English novel. And we will talk about the English novel and the start of the English novel later because there is a lot to say about this. Maybe I mentioned this before, but there's a lot to say about the English novels. But now, the Romance writings were not novels and not poetry. It's like Sir Gawain. Remember Sir Gawain? But Sir Gawain was in a poem, written in a poem. But this is in prose, not in verse. The same stories, romance writings about the heroes, the love stories, but in prose, not in verse. Okay, and then we have the essays. You know what is an essay? You know what is a paragraph? Now you're studying a paragraph. An essay is a longer form, a group of paragraphs. This is an essay in 1 page, 2 pages. This is an essay. So this was a type of the prose written in at that era, at the Renaissance age. And the essays discussed, as always, the essay discussed the issues of the time and talks in detail in a more serious way. We have a very important example by Sir Francis Bacon, the advancement of learning. He's talking about learning at that era. And remember Sir Francis Bacon? We mentioned him when we talked about Shakespeare. Some people believe that Francis Bacon is Shakespeare. I don't believe so, but there is a theory that says so. So he had very important essays, a group of essays, the advancement of learning. Okay. The sixth type is the religious writings. What is religious writing? The sermons, you know, the sermons. We have the khutbah, our sermon as Muslims, and the Christians, they have their sermons in churches. So it's a religious speech, but written. It's a religious speech, but written. One of the most important and most famous examples is John Donne. John Donne was, remember, he was religious, and he was one of the most people who wrote sermons for church. Okay, so the religious writings. And the last type we have today is illustrated books. You know the illustrated books? They still exist till this day, and they are very famous, very important. You know, an illustrated book is a book. We have, paragraphs and everything, sometimes poetry, but it has pictures. This is why it is an illustrated book. So we have a book, normal book, but we have also pictures here and there, and people would like read the words, the paragraphs, the explanations here and there, but then also they would look at the pictures to understand the topic more. Some pictures here or there. So this is an illustrated book, and they were known at that era. Okay. And maybe they were more expensive because you would bring someone to draw the pictures, and this would make it in a way more expensive than the rest of the books. But back, the Renaissance era was very important, was very rich era. So they had the illustrated books as a type of prose, as a type of, in a way, a type of prose. Because yes, there are pictures, but also paragraphs and explanations here and there. So it is considered a prose. Okay, so this is today's lecture, the Renaissance era, the Renaissance prose, and with the end of this lecture, we're done, officially done with the Renaissance era. Next time, we'll talk about a new era, very exciting era. The king will be executed next time. They will kill the king. England will, for the first time, maybe England, the state, uh, will have won't have a king, a monarch, not a king or a queen, for the first time, thanks to the Puritans. We talk more about the Puritans, and we talk in a way about politics, but more about fiction and literature, how politics affected literature and how literature affected politics at that era. Okay, the Commonwealth and then the Restoration, two different but connected eras. Uh, for today's discussion, you have two questions. The first question that we started the lecture with: what do you prefer and why, verse or prose? Don't like explain a lot. Just give me verse or prose and just a general answer. Why? Why poetry, not novels? Why short stories, not poetry? Okay. And then the second question: how is travel writing relevant to colonialism? We talked about this. This could be part of your exam, so it's good to refresh your mind. So tell us in your words, in your own words, don't repeat my words. How is travel writing relevant to colonialism? How it helped the Christian mentality, how it prepared the Christian mentality for colonialism. Okay, so this is for discussion. Uh, Now, as you already heard or knew, the midterms were postponed. We still have midterm. No face-to-face lectures, but we will have a midterm exam. Okay, I said this and I will repeat it. We'll have a midterm exam, and because we don't have face-to-face lectures, there will be a change in the assessment criteria. هنغير العلامات على الأنشطة اللي عاملينها. حنضيف الاختبار النصفي وحنرفع شغلات. ححط لكم التقسيمة الجديدة بناء على الوضع الجديد. فيش محاضرات بث مباشرة. شو حيصير بالبورتفوليو، شو حيصير بالبرزنتيشنز، شو حيصير بالدسكشن. كثير شغلات هكتب لكم عنها بوست مفصل. بوست مفصل بس اروق ان شاء الله الفتره القادمه. Okay. uh, thank you for watching this lecture, and now we are done with the Renaissance era. Tomorrow hopefully, or on Thursday, I'll upload a new lecture, and next week again we'll have 3 lectures, not 2. 3, not 2. As always, we had already 3 lectures, 2 recorded and 1 face-to-face. Now we have the 3 recorded. Maybe one of them will be a live lecture on Zoom. We don't know, we're not sure yet. We will see at the time. Thank you again, and مع السلامة. Goodbye.